Hi everybody, it's LibraryAnn again, and I'm excited to continue reading this book, Rabbi Rocketpower and the Half-Baked Matzah Mystery, a particularly peculiar Passover by Rabbi Susan Abramson, illustrated by Ariel, Diorio. And we left off, I finished chapter 5, and today I'm going to read chapters 6, 7, and 8. Chapter 6, What's the matter with this Seder? Rabbi Mensch tried hard not to show the others how upset she was. It's a good thing I know the Seder by heart. Let's continue with Yachatz, the ceremony for breaking the middle matzah. She held up the plate with the 3 matzot and continued. This is the bread our ancestors ate when they were treated badly in Egypt. Today we feel like slaves. Next year, may we all be free. Purr jumped into the air to try to get a better look at the plate. Give me a break, a high voice squealed from under the matzah cover. Purr, that's not nice, scolded Aaron. The whole point of the Seder is to remind us to be nice to people who need our help. Speaking of giving something a break, said Rabbi Mensch before Purr could talk back, I will now break the middle matzah to show that our world is broken. I'm going to put that piece of matzah in the afikomen bag for the children to find after dinner. As she stuck her hand between the 2 outer pieces of matzah to break the middle one, Purr threw Schmaltzy in the air so he could see what was happening. Ouch! You're cracking me up, chirped a high, squeaky voice. Schmaltzy, was that you? Asked Aaron, giving Schmaltzy a really weird look as Purr caught him in her mouth. Rabbi Mensch put the broken piece of matzah into a white felt bag with the word afikomen written on the front in gold glitter. Aaron had made it especially for the Seder. She held up the bag and explained, I'm going to hide this when no one is looking. Whoever finds it after dinner will get a prize. Yay, shouted Aaron and Kaylee. Yay, shouted Talia, even though she didn't know why she was so excited. Achoo, rumbled something inside the afikomen bag. Purr laughed so hard that she rolled on her back, nearly squishing Schmaltzy. Please cover your nose when you sneeze, Purr, suggested Dad. You dodos blame me for everything. Come on, Schmaltzy, we're out of here, Purr exclaimed. She grabbed Schmaltzy, stuck her tail in the air, and trotted into the kitchen. They hid behind the kitchen door to keep an eye on the afikomen bag. Time for the real 4 questions, Rabbi Mensch explained. Why is this night different from all other nights? This year, I can think of far more than 4 reasons. I'll give you 5 minutes to see how many you can remember. Ready, set, go. While everyone tried to think of the actual 4 questions, Rabbi Mensch slipped out of the room with the afikomen bag. She snuck through the kitchen, through the family room, and out the porch door. Purr followed right behind her, squeaking Schmaltzy all the way. Can you please be quiet? You'll spoil all the fun, Rabbi Mensch whispered when she walked back in from the porch without the bag. Who, me? Asked Purr, innocently batting her eyes. She dropped Schmaltzy next to the porch door so they could both watch the afikomen bag. After everyone managed to remember the real 4 questions, Rabbi Mensch helped them recall the real 10 plagues. They dipped their pinkies into their wine. They put a drop on their plate when they said the name of each plague to show that they couldn't drink all their wine and be happy when other people were suffering. They sang Dayenu, the song that says it would have been enough if God had just helped the Israelites get free, but God kept helping them. Wah, me want food, Talia cried, just as Rabbi Mensch was about to explain what was on the Seder plate. I guess this Seder has gone on a little longer than usual, said Rabbi Mensch. Maybe we should get Talia something to eat while we prepare the appetizers. I'll give Talia some of my special matzah ball soup, Aaron offered. Chapter 7. The matzah goes ballistic. Everyone but Talia gathered in the kitchen to peel the hard-boiled eggs and put gefilte fish and chopped liver on serving platters. Aaron grabbed a bowl and a big spoon to get Talia her soup. Mom, he yelled as he looked in the pot, didn't you turn on the stove? The soup looks cold. Wah, cried Talia, banging her little hands on the table. It's okay if the soup isn't hot, said Aviva. That way, she won't burn her mouth. Aaron carefully placed the matzah ball in the bowl. He didn't understand why it began bouncing around after he put it in so gently, but he didn't have time to think about it when Talia screamed, "Me want soup! Me want soup!" This matzah ball should fill you up for a while, he announced, proudly placing the bowl in front of her, then racing back to the kitchen. Talia dipped her spoon into the soup, but when she tried to pick up the matzah ball, it opened its eyes, stuck its tongue out at her, and swam away. Ook it, matzah ball, Talia giggled. Glad you like it, Aaron said with a smile, returning with a plate of celery sticks filled with chopped liver. Keep an eye on that awful con man guy. I gotta see what happens next, Purr whispered to Schmaltzy. She snuck back into the dining room and jumped onto Aaron's chair. As soon as Aaron joined everyone else in the kitchen, the matzah ball jumped out of the bowl and shook itself off on the table. It blew a matzah whistle, and all the matzah on the table morphed together into a mini matzah mobile. That's what it looked like. A mini matzah mobile. Talia and Purr couldn't believe what they saw. The matzah ball jumped into the driver's seat, revved up its tiny engine, and flew off the dining room table. It landed in the kitchen doorway and made a sharp left turn under the kitchen table before anyone could see it. Bye-bye, matzah, Talia waved. Quiet, whispered Purr, you'll spoil everything. Did you drop your matzah ball, Talia? Asked Aaron, hurrying in to help her. He looked all over the floor, but couldn't find it. When he looked on top of the table, he didn't see any matzah at all. Talia, did you eat everyone's matzah? He asked in amazement. How could you even reach them if you were strapped in your booster seat? Look at the matzah, Talia yelled, pointing toward the kitchen. Mom, all the matzah's missing, yelled Aaron, trying to figure out what happened. But when he saw Purr excitedly wagging her tail under the kitchen table, he got suspicious. Just after the matzah mobile raced into the family room, Aaron stuck his head under the table. Purr, did you take the matzah? He asked, although he thought that even Purr could not manage to be that sneaky. Sure, Bub, I made it into a car and drove it into the family room, she joked as she walked in that direction. That's ridiculous, Aaron responded. He looked all over the floor and scratched his head, trying to figure out what happened. Don't worry about it, said Mom as she carried in a huge tray of gefilte fish. Let's use the matzah from Israel I brought home this afternoon. It will remind us of the land of our ancestors when we say the blessings. I didn't like the way that other matzah smelled anyway. Aaron gave everyone a new piece when they sat back down at the table. Rabbi Mensch explained what was on the Seder plate, and they recited the blessings over the matzah. The last thing we do before we eat is make a Hillel sandwich. We mix the bitter herbs and the sweet charoset to remember the bitterness of slavery and the sweetness of freedom, Rabbi Mensch explained. Everyone eagerly spooned maror and charoset onto their new matzah and made it into a sandwich. As they enjoyed the appetizers, Aaron noticed that Purr was nowhere in sight. That's weird, he thought to himself. I was sure she'd be bugging us to give her some gefilte fish and chopped liver. Chapter 8, The Roman Afikomen. Everyone enjoyed their meal. After they had finished eating, Aaron, Kaylee, and Talia played tag in the living room, while the adults sat around the table talking. Calling all children, Rabbi Mensch announced. Time to find the Afikomen. Yay, shouted Aaron and Kaylee as they ran into the dining room. Yay, shouted Talia, following after them, still not knowing why she was so excited. This year, I hid the Afikomen somewhere you probably wouldn't think to look. That's your only clue. Whoever finds it gets a special prize. Ready? Me want mommy, Talia screamed, grabbing Aviva's arm. No fear. Then I want daddy, Kaylee whined, looking at Martin. Okay, we'll all go together, suggested Aviva. I don't need anyone to help me, Aaron announced. He was sure he knew where his mother had hidden the Afikomen, and he didn't want anyone tagging along. Ready, set, go, shouted Rabbi Mensch. Aaron ran into the living room and looked under each couch cushion. That's where his mother had hidden the Afikomen for the last 3 years. Kaylee, Talia, Aviva, and Martin snooped around the kitchen and then headed into the family room. Rabbi Mensch smiled as she heard them search behind bookcases and under the sofa. She turned on the water in the sink and began rinsing the dishes with Dad. The sound of the running water was so loud that they couldn't hear anything else. I looked all over the living room, the hall closet, and even upstairs under my bed, Aaron complained loudly as he reappeared in the kitchen. I was sure you put the Afikomen in one of those places. You've got a good memory, his mother remarked. Those were all the places I hid it every year since you were old enough to look. Too bad our friends headed in the right direction. She grinned, looking toward the family room. Oh, man, Aaron moaned. They must have found it by now. How come they didn't bring it back? That is odd, his mother agreed, realizing that she hadn't heard any noise coming from that direction for a while. Aaron rushed into the family room, hoping that somehow he still had a chance to find it first. He didn't see any people, but he did see that the porch door was open. Aha, he whispered. Aaron stepped onto the porch. Get back here, you rat, someone in the backyard screeched. Aaron looked outside and couldn't believe his eyes. There was a big matzah mouse with the Afikomen bag draped over its back like a saddle. It was zigzagging through the trees with schmaltzy in its mouth, squeaking him as it ran. Purr was chasing it, nipping at its matzah tail. Talia was chasing Purr, shouting, Here, kitty. Kaylee was chasing Talia, crying, I found the Afikomen first. Aviva ran after them holding 2 jackets, yelling, Put on your coats, it's chilly out here. Martin raced after Aviva, hollering, We're going to miss dessert. Aaron looked up and his mouth dropped open. There in the clearing, behind the trees, stood a huge pyramid made out of matzah. There was a big sign on one side that read, All Israelites welcome. Under the sign was an open door. The matzah mouse and all its followers were heading right forward. And that's the end of chapter 8. And the next time I will read the rest of the book. There are 12 whole chapters. So watch for my YouTube channel for the end of Rabbi Rocketpower and the Half-Baked Matzah Mystery. Happy reading, everybody.